Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Star Trek The Next Generation Season 3, Episode 14. It's called A Matter of Perspective, so full spoilers for the episode as always. And if you recognise one of the guest stars this week, you get a ding ding.
I did not. Should I have done?
Hector Salamanca, come on.
Oh,
Hence the ding ding.
sure. I'm with you now. I can see it.
I mean, some people would say you should say ding dong, but honestly, I feel like ding ding.
No, I think his bell dings twice.
It's a ding ding. Yeah, it's not a ding dong.
Yeah.
What a start to this review.
The amount of shit you gave me when I said about ding dongs in a video last week. I can't remember what it was.
I recall no such conversation. So, this episode is your Rashomon style episode, which uses the holodeck to do its Rashomon style. If you know what I'm talking about here, I should explain what Rashomon is for those of you who are not into 1950s Japanese cinema. Rashomon was a movie directed by Akira Kurosawa, in which it's a movie about a story that's been told from multiple perspectives, and every time they get a new perspective from one of the characters, we see it slightly differently, and then eventually by the end of the story you get the complete picture, possibly. So obviously other movies and shows have done their Rashomon style versions and whatnot. This is Star Trek doing it with its Star Trek sort of flavour, which is the holodeck kind of literally showing the various versions to the characters. Riker is accused of murder. He's murdered this alien scientist played by Hector Salamanca. Or to be more accurate with the actor's name, Mark Margolis. But yeah, so we know him from Better Call Saul and a couple other things, but much younger here, of course. But he is a scientist who's doing some sort of wave converter thing, doohickey tech talk.
That sums it up.
Yeah, and Riker and Geordi go there to, and we don't see this, this is all after the fact we find this out, but they go there to get an update from, because the Federation are sort of funding this and they're going to be using it. But there's an explosion when Riker's beaming back. He kind of comes back slightly late, there's a little transporting hiccup, and then he appears.
There's like an energy pulse that knocks out the transport a second.
Yeah, but he appears, and then all of a sudden, after the opening title, after the space station he was on explodes, this chief inspector comes on board, this alien policeman essentially, and he wants to have Riker. He wants him extradited because he's accusing him of murder, and the wife of the scientist is kind of the prime witness who's saying he did it. He's the one who murdered my husband. And the episode is very much the trial of them presenting evidence in which they've programmed into the holodeck Riker's story, the wife's story, and then based on the assistant who heard it from the husband's side of the story, which is mostly there for comic relief, if I'm honest. But I laughed, so I'll give it points. It made me laugh. So that's the gist of the episode, barring a couple of little things throughout. There's also like a weird thing going on that kind of ties into it by the end. But that's the gist of it. Cara, what did you think of A Matter of Perspective?
It's pretty good. I think there's a couple elements that frustrate me.
Yeah, I would say it's enjoyable for the first 2/3, and then I think the resolutions suffer from actually satisfying tying it together. There's one element in particular that really frustrated me, because So they set up this idea that this inspector's on board, and there's a couple of good character beats where Riker's acting a little bit weird when he comes back, even before he knows he's been accused of murder. Like, something clearly happened that's made him uncomfortable on this mission, and he's being kind of squirmy about it. Then he's accused of this, and Picard, of course, says, I'm not extraditing my officer without sufficient evidence, and the inspector's like, no, we're going to do this down the planet, and he's like, no. And then Data comes in, and Picard's like, hey, could we program the holodeck to act like this? And Data's like, yeah, if we get all the information, we can put it in, blah blah blah. And so the bulk of the episode is them looking at these recreations in the holodeck of what happened, and there's some fun there with that, because I enjoyed the build up to this. I enjoyed the awkward tension, because at one point Riker, after this is set up, Riker says, Captain, can I come and see you? And Picard says, under the circumstances, number one, I think that would be inappropriate. So I like the sort of tension that it was clearly causing, even though of course Picard and Troy don't believe that Riker did this. They have no reason to suspect that he did. Yeah. But there is kind of this stress put on everyone because of the accusations, and I like that kind of playing out throughout the characters and the little tidbits from it. But, ultimately they sit down and we get Riker's version first. And we get some humour here because in Riker's version, he's being completely proper, and the entire time the scientist's wife is throwing herself at him. It's like, oh no, you should stay, you should spend the night here, and oh, I'll get you some tea, like touching his arm. And it's constantly she is flirting as much as she can. She throws herself at him.
And he's being very gentlemanly, being like, no, we can't do this, you're married. And
he has to...
Putting her jacket back on when she's trying to take it off.
Yeah, and he sort of pushes her away and says, no, this can't happen. But of course the husband walks in and accuses him of doing whatever, and he tries to say it's a misunderstanding, and the husband's mad. I'm going to ruin your career, Riker. I'm going to report this, just you wait and see kind of thing.
Actually, I think in Riker's version, he accuses... The husband comes in and has a go at the wife, right? It's like, I knew you were looking at him. You couldn't keep your eyes off him.
Oh, you may be right, yeah. Honestly, that detail's not that important, which is why I misremembered it, to be honest. It's one of those things where it doesn't actually seem that big a deal. And then for the humour, of course, the wife comes in, and I like how awkward it is in the room as they're watching this. Like when she comes in and sits down, like her and Riker looking at each other feels really awkward. But then we see her version of it, and it's the complete opposite, where she's being the loving wife, and Riker is constantly dropping little hints. He's like, oh, what a beautiful woman. Oh, yes, maybe we'll stay here. He's being really slimy. And ultimately, when they're alone, when she's shown him to his room, he makes a move, locks her in, kind of like inappropriately touches her, makes suggestions. And as Riker points out, because Riker, in the sort of the live Riker watching this, pauses it and says, no, stop this right now. This did not happen. None of this happened. I did not proposition her, and I certainly didn't try to rape her. He actually, flat out says, she's accusing me of trying to rape her. That did not happen. And the frustrating part of this for me is two elements. One is that after everyone leaves, Riker sits down with Troy and he says, hey, why is she lying? You can tell she's lying, right? And Troy, the interesting part of this is Troy says, actually, she believes what she's saying. And Troy doesn't believe that Riker did this. She's like, no, I don't believe you did this because I know who you are. But she does believe what she's saying. And there is zero resolution or payoff to why she believes this.
Do you know, about halfway through that story where you were getting to that, I was like, you're getting to the same bit that I hated, because that's that was an interesting element to introduce, right? Going, okay, something's at play that's making them remember things differently.
And in the moment, I thought, okay, cool, we're going to do something later that explains why she believes this.
Yeah, because already at this point in the episode, I kind of go, okay, so they're doing Rashomon, and there's an actual physical reason in this as to why the memories are so different, right?
Yeah,
in this Star Trek version.
Because there's two ways they can do this, right, that it would work. And either there's something affecting their memories, so she believes this and it didn't happen or whatever, right? And essentially what they seem to be going with, because they never even address it, because this is the thing, they ultimately prove that Riker never killed the husband, right? Which of course is important, but they never prove that anything that happened with the wife happened one way or the other, which would be fine, because let's say it wasn't as extreme as this. Let's say his version, she was being really flirty and he had to sort of say no, and then in her version he was being the flirty one and she had to say no. It would be fine, and it would even be like a light-hearted sense of humour thing where they both remember it being the opposite way around.
They both thought the other person was flirting with them.
The problem is that her version of the story outright paints him as a sexual predator, and
it's extreme.
It's extreme, and it feels like, no, he has to be like proven innocent of this. Yeah. And I'm not going to look at Riker differently going forward, because I'm going to chalk this up to just weird writing that didn't do it properly. But if this was to be taken as seriously as it's presented to me, I would be looking at Riker like oh, he might be a creep for the rest of this show, and I don't think that's the intent here. I don't think that's what they're doing.
No, I think the problem is the versions are so drastically different, right? I think that's where it comes down. And if they're so different, which I was okay with because this is Star Trek, I was like, oh, there's an explanation for this. There's a reason why they remember it so differently. Because, small differences, by all means, go ahead. That's kind of the point, right?
If this was, see if it was just the first half where it's when they first meet in front of the husband and it was just he's being flirtier, she's being flirtier, that would have been, I could chalk that up to, no, this is just their perspective of the other one was the one who was doing the flirting, like it wasn't me, and that would be fine. But the recount of the scene where she flat out paints him as being attempting to rape her, that is so extreme in the other direction that you have to. The fact that Troy says she believes this, if it wasn't that, if it was she's actually embellishing because she's like, no, she thinks that he killed her husband, so she's actually adding to it to make him look even worse.
She's angry to make a point. That's fine.
If that's the way they went with it, okay, but no, Troy says with her empath ability says, no, she believes what she's saying right now. And that sort of made me go, okay, so they're going to explain this with science fiction, but then it never happens. They never even address it. That all of the payoff to it is all about explaining how he didn't kill the husband.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused at the ending. Not in the events, but they go, right, so this is what happened, and they kind of piece it all together, and we have this amalgamation that they just decide this must be the correct result. Like the only thing they know for sure is the actual end, scientifically provable fact.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else, they just program this amalgamation and go, this is the truth. And I'm like, why?
Yeah, it falls apart a bit at the end because the explanation, or how they get to the explanation, or not even how they get to it, just how all the things they conveniently just don't bother addressing, and their explanation is what bothers me. There's just so much of it they don't even address. It's just like, okay, you proved that it was actually a ricochet, that it was actually the scientist trying to kill Riker that ricocheted because of the transport or whatever, and
that's all fine.
Yeah, that part's fine.
That's the bit where they can prove that. They've literally got hard data to back that up.
And for the record, I think it was really funny when they bring in the assistant who tells like the husband's version, which Picard rightly says, hey, this isn't like the actual perspective, this is like, second-hand information, but it was still worth saying for the humour of like, this is the only version when the fight happens where he goes to punch Riker, where Riker doesn't win the fight, because the husband's like, yes, I punched him and got him on the ground.
Yeah. I like how this, like, he's like, this surely isn't admissible, and they're like, well, if they're deceased, then it is. Our system. And
Picard says, okay, you can show it, but I'm going to judge it kind of accordingly.
I'm going to weight it on that.
It's going to be worth less because it's not actually from him.
It's a second-hand account, which seems fair. That's kind of how it works, right?
Yeah. So some of the leaps in logic to like why they're convinced that like he did this. Not that it was, but yeah, just when Picard's going through the story and says, "Well, I propose this happened at this point, and this is when he decided to do this." All of this is just kind of guesswork. None of it's actually.
It's some conjecture, isn't it?
Yeah, the one. They proved that it ricocheted and it came from the scientist. So okay, he clearly tried to kill Riker, and this because the scientist was worried that Riker was going to reveal that he was actually going to sell off this tech to other, to the Ferengi, to the the Klingons, the Romulans, whoever, because. Not the Romulans because they're part of the Federation, but like all the non-Federation races, because this can be used for war and weaponry, and that can be more profitable, and he wanted to do that. But yeah, all the things that it doesn't address left us feeling really frustrating, because it was like, no, you've painted Riker as this awful human being, and the problem is that it's such a light-hearted kind of fun episode watching the differences play out. The moment you accuse Riker of this, it's like, okay, all of a sudden I can't be laughing at this anymore. It's a serious undertone that I can't.
And it's not even like this is the viewer thinking that maybe this is the worst. It's not like looking at it in 2020 and watching this now and going, well, this is clearly bad. No. Riker actively says she's accusing me of rape.
Yeah,
It's there in the text. This isn't subtext.
Yeah, no. The fact that he actually says it out loud, which I did not expect to happen, but when he says that, I'm like, oh, they're actually treating this very seriously because he said it. He actually said she's accusing me of rape, and it doesn't actually give it the weight that it deserves after he says it.
I agree, because if he hadn't said that, I would have assumed, this is just TV, of the time, playing it off lighter than. Whereas we look at it now and go, this is way too far. But at the time, sure, I buy that on TV that have played it lighter. Yeah, maybe it would just be a thing of the times where we would look at it and I get what you're saying. But because he actually says they address it. No, they're aware that what they're doing is, very, serious.
Yeah, so
it's frustrating, isn't it?
It's a frustrating turn. Because honestly, I was enjoying the episode. And even at that point, I was enjoying it because I thought they were about to get really serious, and I thought, okay, they're going places here I did not expect, and that's again interesting.
I just the whole time at this point, I assumed, okay, well, there's going to be some sci-fi reason why their memories are so different.
Even just the idea that they're taking one of their main characters and putting this accusation on him is actually really ballsy, and then it does nothing with it, which is really weird. So
it's just like, well, we still need to find out if you murdered that dude, so we'll come back to this later. Yeah, and then they never do.
Well, because that was the weird thing at the end of the episode. Like they're sitting on the bridge, and they're leaving finally because they've solved everything, and Picard's like, number one, why don't you do the orders of take us out? Like, yes, I'd be glad to take us out, sir. And he's like, Wesley, input these coordinates, engage. And he's smiling, and I'm like, technically it was never proven that you didn't try to rape someone. You're in a really good mood right now, but technically, if
we proved you didn't kill someone.
If we were to take this exactly as it is presented, the only reason why we're not is because we're assuming that this is just a mistake, that we're not supposed to be thinking that Riker might be a rapist for the rest of the show.
We're just assuming, well, we know our character, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt, which really is quite a sinister way to think about it.
Which is not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to believe the victim, believe it or not. But I don't think that's an intentional weird faux pas they're committing. I think this is just bad writing.
Yeah.
That is unintentionally putting the character in this position.
It's frustrating that it does colour the episode, because it's a mostly enjoyable episode. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's frustrating with elements like this, where it just feels so unresolved and just... Like I said, you think they're setting up a whole concept of, okay, well, the memories are being altered, and then, no, nothing.
Yeah, they figure everything out, by the way, because there's like a weird anomaly on the ship. There's like something melting through some of the metal, which turns out to be from this sensor on the planet, which the scientist was using in his experiments, and it's because of what's happened that's doing it. But probably because the holodecks recreated everything so well that something in the holodecks triggering this signal, which is funny, but sure, whatever, I'll go with it. But that's how they figure it out, and that's fine. It's like a little mini subplot throughout the episode. Just it ends up tying in. There was a moment of bad acting from Wesley where they're looking at the data and he's like, "No, it couldn't have come from Riker's phaser. It's just not possible. There's something else. We're just not seeing it." And it's just the way he delivered. We're just not seeing it. It just made me laugh a little bit.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
That was a rough line delivery. Maybe you should have gotten Wheaton there to do another take. But there was a really great scene at the start that made me laugh. There's a scene at the start where Picard's painting. He's in like a painting class, and Data comes in to get him. And Data's looking at the paintings, and he's like, "Oh, this one's good, and that one's good." And Picard's like, "Oh, what about mine?" And Data looked at it, he's like, "It's interesting." And Picard goes like, "Oh, thank you. In what way?" And Data, the phrase that stuck out in my head was haphazard melange.
That was when he was talking about the colours.
Yeah, it's a haphazard melange of like obscure something or other. It was just haphazard melange really stuck out to me as a phrase.
It was funny, like looking at it, just like, oh, you're blending this surrealist angle with this Picasso angle, whatever influences and stuff, and it was really specific. And you look because like, well, you're doing this, but it doesn't really work, and you're trying that, but it doesn't really work.
I would argue this is one of the most human signs we've had from Data, because there's a moment where Data's doing this and he knows he's going to hurt his feelings and he makes kind of a face as he's trying to like dance around it, and I felt like, you know what, he's got more humanity than we've been giving him credit for, because that feeling of like fear as he's trying to like critique the captain's art.
How can I say this delicately?
Crack me up. He's like, that's enough, Data. I don't to hear anymore. Hey, look, Picard's not amazing at everything, okay? He's only okay at painting.
I mean, still better than what I could do.
I mean, yeah, but he's not as good as everyone else in the class, which is the clear.
No, but I mean, that's why he's in the class, right?
Which is the clear point that we're making here. But yeah, so also I want to point out actually the inspector, who apparently his name was Inspector Cragg. I thought he had a really interesting demeanor. Though every time he was walking around, I felt like it's like his back was sort of arched and his shoulders were kind of sticking out. He had this kind of way that he walked that I thought was, I don't know. I guess he's just a tall dude with a sort of lanky kind of frame, I guess is what it is. But
I'm just trying to picture it. I mean, because I didn't notice it while I was watching.
It wasn't like a super standout thing. It was just something that I kind of noticed once I was watching, and then I was like, oh yeah, it was always kind of in my head at that point. I just kept thinking about it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it is what it is. Honestly, I mean, the episode is like, it would have been a solid like upper tier 7 out of 10, I think. But that one weird problem
really does get in the way, doesn't it?
It definitely takes it off a point, if nothing else, I think, which is a shame. But it's a matter of perspective. So next episode, so this is one of these things. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I'll just tell you that when I actually seen this last week, when I went to the next one and went ahead again to see this one, sometimes you see a rate in IMDb and you go, oh boy. So the next episode is called Yesterday's Enterprise, and it's definitely the highest rated episode this season so far in terms of the average.
Oh, so this is like above Deja Q and the other good one that we really liked around then.
Yeah. The Enterprise C enters the Enterprise D's time and space continuum, where they find Picard and crew in a constant state of war with the Klingons, and only Guinan knows it. I'm intrigued.
That's interesting.
I don't know if I want to tell you the main thing that is notable about the images here. I don't know if I want this to be a surprise.
I kind of want to go and look at them now.
We'll
look off air just in case no one else wants to know, if anyone else is watching this for the first time.
But they might want your reaction, though, to this.
All right, go on then. For the sake of anyone who doesn't know.
If anyone doesn't want to know, assuming you're watching this for the first time with our reviews, you don't want to know. End here, thank you for watching. For everyone else, Tasha Yar. Brace yourself.
Oh, I love it.
Brace yourself. This is Tasha's redemption. Her return.
Triumphant return.
Her triumphant return to not be done with a puddle.
Hey, maybe she's fine against Klingons, just not puddles.
Yeah, but that's next time. So that is a biggie. Biggest one we've had this season, I think, so far. You can, of course, let us know what you thought of A Matter of Perspective in the comments. You can like and subscribe, all that stuff. It does help us out a lot if you do that. As does, of course, helping us out on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, where you can support us for as little as $1 per month. And for that $1, you get access to an exclusive already cancelled on 6 Feet Under that we do, audio only on there. You also get access to other things at the higher tiers. $5 tier gets just early access to a bunch of stuff, including these Star Trek reviews. So go and have a look, see if you're interested in supporting all the content and keeping stuff coming. But go and have a look. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching Star Trek, guys. And remember that when it comes to the ladies, Wesley Crusher is in complete control.